Hey everyone, Blair here, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some things that I've been seeing from a lot of Snap creators and some things that I haven't. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is there's a couple of very influential Snap creators in the environment. I watch them too daily. They're incredible, they're great at what they do, but once they have found a deck that works very well, all of a sudden I'm playing it all the time. So it's clear these Snap creators have a large reach out to people, and they're saying these are the decks that are being successful, these are the decks that are doing well, and yeah, these are the decks that got me to Infinite. The problem I'm finding, at least personally, wasn't that they're wrong. They were absolutely correct. The problem is that most players get stuck in the slog, and what I refer to as the slog is levels 30 to 70. This area of gaming in Marvel Snap is very hard to get out of. First of all, most content creators, because they're good, have gotten themselves to Infinite, and so when the new season starts, they drop only down to level 70, and then they work their way back up to 100. So they don't really play in that area I call the slog all that much. So they don't, I think, have a lot of exposure to what happens in that area. There are people I know with a lot of cards that are building all of these decks that these creators are saying are amazing, that are great, and they demonstrate that they are. But they're not able to get out of this slog area. This area is very difficult to get out of, and the main reason is it's kind of all over the place. People are playing decks that are, fun. They're gimmicky. They're going for the home run. They're trying new things. They're trying these decks that are over in these creators are creating that are really focusing on that kind of level 70 plus gameplay. And I'll tell you, they just don't work as well in the level 30 to 70 range. And the main reason they don't work so well is because you're not playing the same decks. So when you get to level 70 onwards, I found the decks that we're playing were very similar. And when you are playing those decks, all these counter cards or meta cards or, these top end gimmicks that are really doing well at those high levels work. But when you're in that 30 to 70 range, you've got a couple of issues here. First of all, you're dealing with people who don't have the cards to compete. So what do? They have to take a look at their inventory. They take what cards they have and say, well, this is the only architect I can work with because these are the only cards that I have. And that's a very difficult slog to get out of. Unless you're wanting to pay to win, that 30 to 70 is a long haul. But then you're like, hey, wait a moment. I have a lot of cards. I have all of Pool 3 or most of Pool 3, and I'm still having these issues. Well, again, it's because a lot of the decks that are 70 to 100 are focusing on similar things, so it's easy to counter the meta. The meta doesn't really exist in 30 to 70 in the same way. So what should you do? That's really the ultimate question. What should you do? And in my opinion, what you should do is find a deck that gets you a high return on cubes and escape a lot. So look, I have a deck that I use, and I'll bring it up here in a second, that I called Helidoc. This is nothing that was ever, it wasn't anything that was land breaking. At the time, I didn't have Red Skull. I think I had Morbius in his instead. But there's nothing surprising about this deck. This is a deck 30 to 70 a lot of people didn't see. 70 plus, a lot of people had seen it. But the 30 to 70 crowd didn't understand what I was doing. Pretty simple. You're throwing Sunspot down early. Usually at the far right location. If you can get Sunspot and Adam Warlock down on the first 2 turns, then Adam Warlock increases your draw. You throw a Lizard in there to buff that lane up, and that's usually good enough to get Adam Warlock at least to turn 4, drawing you extra cards. The rest of it, turn 4, Invisible Woman, turn 5, MODOK, turn 6, Hela. That's it. That was the whole concept of the deck. When this deck drops with all of those combos in place, it has insane power in all 3 lanes. Now, as soon as someone has seen what this is and understands what's going on, it's an easy thing to block. You throw a Cosmo where you see the Invisible One. You drop an arrow to pull away that last card that you're dropping. There was a lot of ways to easily counter this, but in the 30 to 70 slog, people weren't seeing it because they hadn't had a lot of exposure to it. So what I would do, if I had the combo, snap it right away. And if I got them down, usually a 4-cube win. Sometimes 8 because people didn't understand what I was doing. If they ever did understand what I was doing, I would escape. If I didn't get the combo, I escaped. Even better, if you get the Dark Dimension location, I would literally just sit there, use the Invisible Woman as bait on another lane to try to get them to Cosmo it, throw down MODOK, throw down Hela, try to have priority, because if you have priority, the only way they can defeat it is Arrow. And I'll tell you, ever since the Arrow nerf, a lot of people have overreacted. I still think Arrow is very viable in most decks and should still be used, but she became less used, and that helped me move forward. So what you need to do is you need to find a deck that returns high rates of cubes, and you need to escape as often as you possibly can. Don't be afraid. Like for me, I have donated so many cubes just to see how will this turn out? How could this be good? And I just want to play. That is unfortunately not what you need to do to climb ladder. You need to make good use of your time. You got to maximize your cube return. And once you get past 70, everything changes. I swear all those decks that all those creators are telling you about all start to work and all start to make sense. Also, be very mindful of hot locations. The hot locations, especially in the slog, really benefit you. As an example, today is Elysium. Elysium is that area that brings all of your card costs down -1. Well, how does that work? You play a Zabu, you play a Sarah, some of your cards are coming out for next to nothing on the last turn. Or if you just use the -1 and all your 5s and 6s and She-Hulks and Red Skulls and Taskmasters, all of that becomes a lot more useful. Check out the decks of the day. They're obviously fun. Obviously, it'll help you see what's coming. But I honestly didn't see most of those creator build decks until I hit 70 plus. Most of the 30 to 70 in that slog I was talking about. Just try to find a deck that has a high cube return and see how many people you can pull the wool over their eyes. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.